Question for you. How many times this year have you done a WIDAL test? WIDAL test. The one you could do for typhoid. How many times? And how many times did it come back positive? Let me know. Almost every time, right? Now think about it. Doesn't it look suspicious to you that in Nigeria, almost everyone with fever or weakness, when they go for WIDAL test, the result comes back positive? Are you not bothered? Do all of them truly have it? Or the test is simply misleading us? I mean, the WIDAL test, the WIDAL test. And for those of you that with every malaria treatment, you carry antibiotics and say, oh, since you have malaria, you should take an antibiotic because you think you have typhoid too. In your own mind, with malaria comes typhoid. Who is lying to you? You people are wrong. Oh. Malaria and typhoid are not twins. The organisms that cause them, they are two different organisms. Now today, let's dismantle one of the most abused practices that we do, that is actually injuring our health. Talk of WIDAL test, typhoid. First, WIDAL test, WIDAL test, as some people will call it, does not confirm typhoid. Again, a positive WIDAL test result does not necessarily mean that you have typhoid. Here is the truth. The organism that causes typhoid, we call it Salmonella typhi. What WIDAL test does is to detect the antibodies to the organism. What it does is to detect the antibodies that your body makes against the organism that causes typhoid, that's Salmonella typhi. Your antibodies are like the soldiers that your body makes to fight against organisms. Okay. Now, that a WIDAL test result is positive, that it's detecting the antibodies, does not mean that you have typhoid, because those antibodies can appear for many other reasons, including one, vaccination. If you've been vaccinated against typhoid before, your body would have built antibodies against it. So you using WIDAL tests to judge that, oh, because it's detecting the antibodies you have typhoid is wrong. Secondly, if you had a past infection of typhoid, your body would have built antibodies against it. So you might be showing the WIDAL test results now. And also, it could be that you have other infections that are not even related to typhoid at all, because there could be a cross reaction. A study in Nigeria showed that 70% of the patients diagnosed with typhoid using WIDAL test did not actually have the disease. They didn't have the infection when blood cultures were done. Other research in Ghana showed that in malaria patients, cross reaction often made WIDAL test positive, even though they had no typhoid. So in short, a positive WIDAL result does not always mean you have typhoid. That's what we call a false positive, meaning that the test shows that it's positive, but in reality you don't have it. I will explain better, follow me. Now, here is for you stronghead that is still saying, this will not concern me, I'll still go ahead and do my WIDAL test. I will use it to diagnose my typhoid. This is for you. If you must use WIDAL test to diagnose typhoid, here is the only correct way to use it. You take the first test, after 7 to 10 days, you repeat it and look for a 4-fold rise in antibody levels. You have to repeat it for you to use it to diagnose typhoid. In fact, a Kenyan study says that one WIDAL test is useless to diagnose typhoid. And I know a lot of you will not repeat the test. So instead of gambling with WIDAL test to diagnose typhoid, why not do the real typhoid test, the gold standard, which I'm going to describe later in this video, so keep watching. Before that, let me tell you a story, a really touching story that still pains me till today. There was this young man in Ibadan, Nigeria, about 26, 27 years old. He had this persistent fever that refused to go away. Each time he had a fever, he would go for a WIDAL test, which kept showing positive that he had typhoid. He would go get antibiotics, different types, just take, and the fever would go away for a while and come back again. Now, something that happened. This time that he had this very serious fever, more serious than the ones that he used to have before. So he was rushed to the hospital. By the time they got him there, proper cultures were done. And guess what? It was not typhoid. It was a serious bloodstream infection, sepsis. Sepsis that needed different drugs entirely, but it was too late. His organs had collapsed. He died because precious time was wasted chasing a false WIDAL result. Now, let's talk about the tests that are used to confirm that there is a typhoid infection. The first one is blood culture, which is a gold standard, and it is best in the first 1 to 2 weeks. See, a study proved that blood culture picks up early cases of typhoid infection that your WIDAL test completely misses. The second test is the stool culture, and it is more useful like after the second week. And then the urine culture, which is useful in later stages. You see, cultures don't guess. It grows the actual bacteria. I see that's confirmation. Even the WHO, the World Health Organization, has stated that the WIDAL test should not be used as a diagnostic tool for typhoid. But you know the hear word. Now, I know some of you will argue that what if you really have the typhoid? Yeah, typhoid is real, deadly real even. Now, listen to me. Even if you truly have typhoid, WIDAL can still make you treat it wrongly. Here is why. Treatment depends on the exact strain of the typhoid causing organism that is causing your typhoid. Remember I said Salmonella typhi causes typhoid. It has different strains. Now, to treat it, the exact strain of Salmonella has to be isolated and tested with antibiotics to know which antibiotics still work against it. We call this the drug susceptibility testing. Now, why is this important? This is because typhoid bacteria are mutating. They are outsmarting our drugs. So, culture plus drug susceptibility testing is like killing the exact bacteria that is causing your typhoid instead of doing guesswork, mini manimal that you do with WIDAL. Do you know how many people are now resistant to antibiotics? A lot of antibiotics because of this WIDAL scam. Do you know how many children have been drugged wrongly because of diseases they never had? Do you know how many families are wasting money chasing malaria and typhoid month after month? Please, let's do better. But don't get it twisted though. I'm not saying typhoid is not real. Typhoid is real. It is deadly even. It kills. As a matter of fact, the WHO states that 9 million people suffer typhoid yearly and 110 people die from it. But the real tragedy is not the typhoid itself. It is the misdiagnosis. Misdiagnosis using a test that was never designed to confirm it. Now, before I forget, let me state the way through which typhoid spreads. Typhoid spreads through 1. Contaminated foods, contaminated water, or unwashed hands. Now, let me reiterate this before I go. A single positive WIDAL test is not confirmation. Without culture and drug susceptibility testing, your treatment might fail. So the next time someone waves a WIDAL result at you, ask them if you really have typhoid or you're just a victim of another misleading result. Because every fever is not typhoid though. In fact, malaria is 10 times more common than typhoid. Thank you for watching, and I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Please share this video widely, and thank you. I remain your dear fam, and you're welcome.